Today, you have reached the YouTube channel of Crocheting Queen Takia White. I'm so excited to introduce crocheting to a lot of you guys today. Now, if you're looking at my nails, I wanted to show you the color that I'm using today. Each time I do a video, I will have a different nail color just so you guys could have a little fun on the video. So the name of this brand is called Sinful Colors. And the name of the nail polish is called C'est La Vie 1196. This nail color is so beautiful, so vibrant, and I've had this nail polish on for 2 days. I am a cook also. So I've done a lot of cooking, a lot of washing dishes, and this nail polish has not chipped. So if you have nail polish that stays on, you know how wonderful it is. So this is the brand to get, okay? So let's go ahead and get started. With crocheting, there are a lot of things that comes into learning how to crochet. It's not just about learning how to knit crochet a blanket. It's about learning about the craft first. So in this first session, we're going to learn about the different kinds of yarns that you can use, along with 2 or 3 different stitching that I'm going to teach you that's going to go along with the progression of how to crochet. The first thing I want to show you guys is my new favorite type of yarn. And this yarn is called Barnett Blanket. It's perfect for making baby blankets. It's very soft. Now, each yarn comes in different types of material. So this one is made from polyester. This yarn is, like I say, it's very fuzzy. I don't know if you guys can see real good. It's very fuzzy and it's very stretchable, which gives it a perfect feel for blankets. And actually, I make shoes with this type of material, and I'll show it to you. These are called my comfy flip-flops, and as you see, the material is very soft, okay? And it's on top of a flip-flop, which I crocheted at the bottom and around the top. So it is very comfortable. It's very soft as you're walking on it. It's just lovely. And so this is the type of look that you will have with this type yarn. Now, the second type yarn you have is called the acrylic yarn. This yarn is a little thick. It's perfect for winter wear. So anything you're gonna wear for the winter time is perfect to use. And an example of what I made using this type yarn is this beautiful dress, okay? This is a 3 to 6 month old dress. As you see, the yarn is very thick. It looks thick. And because of the stitching, it's very durable. And it doesn't stretch that much like the other material do. It's very firm, even though you can see that it does have some elasticity to it. So this is basically how this yarn looks, okay? Our second type yarn that we have is basically a real thin type yarn. And we use this yarn when we are doing lace outfits, okay? You're doing lace flowers because it's very thin. And you use thin needles with this. You use a small needle with this, but it's very thin. It is soft, and so that's why it's perfect for flowers. It's perfect for anything that you can make using, if you want that lace feel to it. Now, my last type of yarn is also acrylic. This is acrylic yarn. It's basically the one I always use. It's called Red Heart. I wish I had the cover for it to show you guys what it looks like, but you can get it from Walmart. You can get it from Hobby Lobby, any type place you want it to. Joann's, they all sell all the yarns that I am showing you guys today. And this is basically the yarn we use for blankets. Actually, I also use this yarn for my comfy slippers also. And it's great for doing embroidery too. So you have your slippers. We also use blankets as well, which I will show you guys later, okay? The second thing that I wanted to highlight for you guys is a lot of people confuse knitting with crocheting. Now, on Facebook, I have a page called the Gifted Hands Project, and it has a lot of my blankets um, that we make, hats, everything. You'll see a lot of different collections. But a lot of people, they confuse crocheting with knitting. Now I'm going to show you guys the difference between crocheting and knitting today. So basically, these are our knitting needles. When you are knitting, you're using two needles together in order to knit. So this is basically a knitting needle for beginners, because sometimes when you use this type of knitting needle, your yarn can sometimes, if you're doing a large piece, can sometimes flow off of your needle. So to keep that from happening with beginners, you have this type of knitting needle with the band around it to keep your stitching from coming off. Okay, and with this type of needle, your creations will look like this. This is a knitted scarf that I made using the knitting stitches. Now, actually, I don't knit often. This is just a scarf that I made for my daughter. But as you see, these stitches look basically like little waves. Okay, only two stitches I know for knitting, and that's the purl stitch and the regular one. Those are only two I know. So if you want to learn more about knitting, you probably have to get in touch with my mother. And her name is Jeannie White, and she's on the Gifted Hands Project. She's the knitting queen. Me, I do more crocheting, but I still know how to knit. Okay. And the last thing that I want to show you guys is the different type of needles. Now, needles, you have different sizes, and it really affects how your crocheting looks. Okay. So these are crocheting needles. You have your F needle, you have your I needle, and actually you have every single needle also. I mean, it's like covers the alphabet. So you have your H, G, H, F, I, J, K, you know, you have all different size. And each size of your needles shows if your stitching is going to be big, if it's going to be small. If you're using something to make lace, you're going to use the smallest needle that you can possibly find. So each needle will tell you how big your stitching will be. So now, since we have the needles, what they look like, the difference between knitting and crocheting, now we're going to go ahead and start learning our first stitch. Now, a lot of times with crocheting, people don't really have patience for it, first of all. But it takes time and it takes patience to learn. But there are a few books that I love to show people that really helps you learn the techniques of crocheting and give you good tips. And this book is called Crochet Techniques and Tips. It shows you different types of crocheting. It shows you how to hold your needle. And it also shows you the right hand movements. It also goes into the different types of crocheting hooks that you will need with each stitching. So I do recommend this book that you can check out to learn more about crocheting, not just looking at the videos, but also something that you can read, because some people are less visual. They're more into, if they read something, they understand it better. So for those type people, you have these type books available. So the first stitch we're going to learn today is we're going to learn how to make a chain. Now, with each one of the techniques that we're going to use, we want to remember that in order to crochet, we want to learn how to read a pattern. Reading patterns is fundamental for crocheting, because it's okay to know how to crochet, but if you don't understand what you're crocheting, then it's going to be quite difficult for you to do it long term or to advance in crocheting. So the first thing I want to show you today is how to do a chain stitch. And I'm going to write this down for you because I want to show you the abbreviation for chain stitch. So the abbreviation for chain stitch is CS. So now you know the abbreviation for chain stitch. I'm going to show you exactly how to do a chain stitch. Now your chain stitch is going to be the starting point of basically everything that you do in crocheting. And so, let's see, I'm going to go ahead and use a eye needle so that it can be big so that you can see. Everyone start their loop different in order to start crocheting. I usually just tie my crocheting around my yarn around the needle because that's just basically easy. Now when you're holding your needle, you can hold it different ways, but this is more comfortable for me. As you start to crochet, you'll learn the way to hold your needle that's comfortable for you. But for me, I take my needle like scissors. I take my hand and hold it like scissors, and I put my yarn in between my index fingers like this. I wrap this finger around, okay, well, how do I do that? Okay, so I wrap my finger around. It's kind of hard to do it once you're thinking about it because I just do it automatically. And then I take this finger and I hold this, okay? So now, since I'm holding this part of the tail part of my yarn and I wrap my finger around, then it's easier for me to catch my loop. You see how easy that is? It's so easy to catch your loop. So let's do this again. I wrap my finger around, get my index finger and my thumb, and I hold the tail part of it. So now when I loop for my chain, it is so easy. So again, I wrap my needle around my yarn and I pull through. So that's one chain. I wrap my needle around my yarn and I pull through. That's two chains. I wrap my needle around the yarn and that's three chains. Wrap it again, four. So each time you do that, you are making a chain. And you just keep doing this until you get used to it and your hands flow. Because your hands is going to really get used to it and it's going to be repetitive. So, you know, your hands will be in sync with how to do it. Okay? So now that you have made chain stitches, now you have a complete chain. This is the foundation for most of everything you do crocheting, from blankets to shoes. Whatever you're doing, everything starts with a chain stitch, okay? So now that we have learned that, I'm going to teach you one more. And we're going to, it's called single crocheting, okay? So that's S-I-N-G-L-E, crocheting. I hope you guys can see that. And the abbreviation for that is SC. Okay, so now that we learned about single crocheting, then let's go ahead and learn the stitch. So now we know the abbreviation, stitch time. So we already learned how to do the chain stitch. So whenever you starting usually that's going to be your second row when you do the single crocheting, you want it edging. So every time you do, you probably have two chain stitches, and then always start in your third. Usually the directions will tell you whether or not you start in your third or fourth stitch, okay? So now we're going to start in our third stitch. We're going to take our needle and we're going to put it in the top of that stitching, okay? Then we're going to bring our yarn into the stitching, bring it out. Now we have two stitches on this needle. We're going to catch a loop, and then we're going to bring this loop through both of our stitching. Now you have a single crochet. How cool is that? Let's do it again. So we have our needle on our stitch on our needle. We're going to bring it into the fourth stitch, which is the top part of this one. I'm trying to put my hand there so you can see it. We're going to bring it through. We're going to catch a loop. We're going to bring the loop through the stitching. Now you're going to have two loops. We're going to bring the yarn over the needle and we're going to pull through both of the loops. Okay? So when you get used to doing this, it doesn't move that slow. Basically, this is how I do it when I'm doing my stitching. I bring it through, I go through. So basically, I hold my chains and you see how fast you can go once you get used to doing it. And basically, you start having muscle memory of how to do it. That happens too. So this is what it looks like. So this is your chain and this is your single crocheting. That's how easy it is, guys. It is so easy to do crocheting when you learn the stitching and learn how to do it. So easy. Soon you'll be making beautiful blankets, baby blankets, hats, and everything just from learning this stitch. This stitch is the start of everything you can possibly do. So that's it, you guys. I hope that next time you visit me next week and we're going to finish learning about single crochet, I will show you how to do half double crochets and double crochets. Okay, those are 2 stitches we're going to learn next. And then you also get to see the different nail color that I'm going to wear next time. So you guys, I thank you so much for subscribing to my channel. I also want to tell you guys about our game that we have. My daughter, she owns a business called Taste-Tastic Cupcakes, and she has a new game out that I want to tell you guys about. The game is going to be in my bio. It's called Cupcake Crash. So I want you guys to download it, try it, tell me how you like it. And each time that you play that game, if you get a high score on that game, then you can go to my website called the Gifted Hands Project and you get $5 off your order, which usually $5 take care of your shipping. So you get to get a little bit off pricing when you play her game. So thank you so much again for joining me today. I hope to see you next week. Have a good evening.